Kentucky may be known for its bluegrass, rolling hills, and lush green forest, but as a kid, I only knew it for one feature, and after decades of waiting, I finally got to pass through the park entrance. I'm sure you figured it out, it was Mammoth Caves National Park. Not knowing my options, I inquired at the visitor center. Turns out there was one campground right beside it, but I preferred a more natural woody spot and headed for the more remote Maple Spring campground. But between me and the campground was a river, aptly named the Green River. It didn't have a bridge, just a small ferry, and since the weight of both my Jeep and trailer were under 8,000 pounds, they let me come aboard. I'm on a ferry with my trailer. It's very awesome. After a very harsh winter, there was a lot of runoff, which meant the river was high. Unfortunately, when I got to Maple Springs Campground, I found it was only booking for large groups, so ended up having to drive back where I started. The ferry was there, but something didn't seem right. Instead of taxiing vehicles across, the ferry was stalled right in the middle of the river. It was pretty obvious it wasn't going anywhere. Well, here's something different. That's the Green River, and that's the Green River Ferry. It had a hydraulic problem, and it stuck right in the middle. And the only road for me to my campsite is right there. So I could be waiting here a long time, or I might actually be camped out here. Who knows? Sun's going down, and it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. But it could be worse. I could be that van on the ferry. I sure hope that couple was looking for a quiet, secluded spot by the river tonight. Well, fortunately for me at least, another person stuck on the wrong side of the river recognized me and showed me there was a way back to the south side. My deepest gratitude to Tom for guiding me through a long succession of back roads to the place I should have camped in the first place. Isn't this a beautiful campground? It's the trees. I mean, I don't know if Easterners appreciate it as much, but this is a hardwood forest. I don't see this in the West. You know, these big oak and maple and elm, especially in the spring. It's just so beautiful. I'm in Mammoth Cave Campground in Kentucky, and yes, I'm here to see the Mammoth Caves, of course. But there's also so much outside, listen to the birds. There's so much wildlife. Deer have been walking through here today. And it's a beautiful place. I'm in an area where it's mostly people with tents and pop-up trailers. It's the little guys that like to camp. And I appreciate being in amongst this group of people when I get a chance. It's not boondocking, of course. I had to pay for this. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's a super deal. I think it's kind of on the high end as far as prices go. But I don't really know of any boondocking around this area. If you have a backpack and you hike in, you can get a permit to camp in the backwoods, but you can't bring your vehicle or your trailer or anything like that. So this is pretty well what you're stuck with. And that's not a bad thing. Although it is a national park, and I would have thought the America the Beautiful Pass would work here, but it doesn't. It doesn't give you a discount or anything, so they might want to work on that. But it's beautiful, it's relaxing, sounds of nature. What more could you want? And by next morning, it was time to go on a cave tour. Well, today I'm on the Grand Avenue tour, which is about 4 hours and 4 miles. Not quite the 400 and some odd miles of caverns that are in the park, but 4 miles is pretty good. So that should give me a good variety. I also didn't drink a coffee this morning, and the reason being is, although there are some restrooms through the caverns, it's going to be the spot where there isn't one where I'm going to need it. So no caffeine. Let's play it safe. All tours start behind the visitor center, where park buses load up the ticket holders. My group had about 75 people in 2 buses. As there is no public access to these roads, you must take the tour to enter the caves. This is the Carmichael Entrance, a man-made access point to the natural part of the cave. It's the first few seconds that tell people if caving is for them, as not all can feel comfortable in such a confining space. I felt sorry for that little girl, but glad her dad understood. Apparently there are 670 stairs on this tour, and somebody had to count them all. Both your legs and your eyes will get a lot of exercise, but rest assured you don't have to climb them back up, as there's another exit. Also, be prepared to duck. If you forget where your forehead is, the cave will remind you. Looking like white lilies, mineral deposits called gypsum flowers hang from the ceiling in the driest part of the cave. Some say graffiti was invented by prehistoric cavemen, so it's no wonder those with Neanderthal in their genes also had to make their mark, some dating back to 1869. And leaving trash lying around seems to be old school as well. This formation looked like the head of a dragon, fitting as we snaked our way through the caverns. Along with the jagged edges that lined both sides at face level, the path was wet and slippery, so good treads on your shoes was a must. It was particularly difficult if you happened to be filming and had a Steadicam, but I made it through without any permanent scarring. Now, if you haven't noticed, this was a walking tour, meaning there was no time to stop and admire any feature that might have caught your eye. A guide led, and a ranger in the back made sure that those at the end didn't dawdle. This was a challenge for me, and it caused my mind to wander. I imagined a march of the damned all chained together and forced onward to feed the fires of eternal hell. But in reality, the guides are actually nice. I just liked the image of Dante's Inferno. Onward we trudged. And of course there were breaks, like this one to admire the great ceiling above the cave. After finally exiting the narrow passageways and reaching larger caverns, it was a welcome change of scenery, but I'm sure you've noticed that one feature associated with limestone caves was missing. As the burger lady said, "Where's the beef?" Or as vegetarians say, "Where's the tofu?" About 3 miles in, drip formations start to make their appearance. Amongst the flowstone was the sound of dripping water. One thing I really like about Mammoth Cave is that the park people have resisted the temptation of giving every natural formation a cutesy little name just to rob your imagination. There were some, however, and I thought I'd mention them should you be planning a tour. The first is Niagara Falls. And next door, the spectacular Drapery Room. Sadly, right when the features really pique your interest, the tour guides you through one more narrow corridor and you see something you haven't seen in ages: sunlight. But not to worry, there's at least 10 more tours you can check out. As for myself, I wanted to check out some places that didn't have a schedule, like the Green River. While on my walk, I just happened to catch the strangest confrontation I've ever seen. It appeared to me that a butterfly was dive bombing a bumblebee. However, watch what happens in the next few seconds, because it just keeps getting more bizarre. It all happened a little too fast, but later when I could slow down the video, it confirmed that the butterfly was actually attacking the bee. Nature is strange sometimes. Mammoth Caves are truly unique. It's like no other cave system I've seen in North America. So if you're in the area or you're planning a vacation, definitely check it out. It's not just the caves, it's the trails, it's the forests, it's the wildlife, and the people. The people of Kentucky are fantastic. I'd love to spend more time here, but it's time to move on. So I'm sure I'm going to come back here, and I definitely encourage anybody else to pop in and check it out. So what could have been more fun than to see young lovers stranded in a river, march through the gates of hell, or witness the fury of killer butterflies. But I'm sure there'll be more tall tales to tell as I travel the back roads of this wonderful world. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please check out my other ones as well. So until the next time, happy travels!